All right, Krishna, over to you.
Thank you, Anne. Artie, just doing a quick check to see if we can hear me. And hi, Andrew.
Yes.
Andy, how are you?
I'm very good, man. How
Brilliant.
are you?
Good to hear from you, man. It's nice to see you. I see that some of our colleagues are also joining. Some of our friends are joining from the online sources. Without further ado, welcome to this lovely webinar, which we co-created for you guys. So
Krishna, I'm not sure if I lost your audio just now. Just check.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. I could hear you all this while, but the minute you shared screen, I lost your audio.
okay,
Yeah, perfect.
thanks to technology. Thank you, Arti, for helping me with my audio. So where are we? I was welcoming you all for this webinar, which we have uh, created for you, how storytelling can help you with your anxiety. So without further ado, a high-level agenda for this one is to exploring the AI's impact and the anxiety it's creating in the market, and looking at how it can the storytelling and how it can reduce it, linking storytelling to reducing AI anxiety. How does it link together? So we're going to have a look at it. And we also have some bonus content, which we would love to give it to you as something you can try, practice something from today. So, a bit about me. My name is Krishna Chudipilli. I'm a trainer, facilitator, researcher, student. And at the same time, I do love to, in my free time, I do love to kayak with my little man and do getting chased by swans on the canals of uh, uh, Grand Union Canal. And recently, I've started to learn to fly using it's a gliders. It's a sailplanes. It's an amazing experience where you can be catapulted by a tug or by any other by another means by into the air up to 3,000 to 5,000 feet. It's up to you. And using the instruments, learning learning using the instruments and learning how to navigate from point A to point B. It's a game of using data. It's a game of learning when your emotions are taking over. How do you look at the facts and making some corrective actions? It's a great sport. If you're interested in guiding, give me a shout. I can speak volumes about it. I'm very passionate to learn more. And and yes, I do have stories about which I would love to share. And which also brings me down to the sponsor of this session. This is about Leadership Tribe. They've been serving organizations globally, and they have and they've been a forefront of organizations like IBM, Unilever, and they've been helping with some of the internal as well as the clients they've been serving. As part of the services is training, facilitating those workshops. It can be a strategy session or creating a product roadmap, or it can be of solving a problem with the teams. So there are different kinds of work which we've been doing and helping clients to solve their problems. But if you do find that if you do have a need, give them a shout at hello at Leadership Tribe, and they'll be more than happy to get back to you. On top of that, they do have a waiting list for the upcoming training programs, and one of the colleagues will drop a link to it. Uh, um, Register your interest, and when the dates are open, we'll be more than happy to get back to you. So, without further ado, out of curiosity, how many of you have experience with some of these AI tools like GPT 4.0? The latest one is Omni, which is free and people have been using. Uh, uh, and it's free. All the tools which are open right now, it's only for the agents, which were previously only people who were paying for the services were able to use it. But now it's anyone with a free account, they will be able to use for GPT as well as with Gemini. So in the chat window, how many of you had the experience of using these tools? Type it in the chat window. Yes or no should be fine. All right. Some of you have already experienced using this service. Okay. So, what is your experience when you're using these tools? How is it helping you? Did it reduce your time to delivery, or what was the experience you have received? From all the experiences, what's the one thing did you observe using these tools? Wow. Reduces time to delivery, still needs a human in the loop. Agreed, still needs a human in the loop. So, according to the World Economic Forum 2023, around 40% of all working hours can be impacted by AI large language models such as GPT-4, says the report from Accenture. So it does reduce the amount of work what we are going to deliver. And we are seeing this changes uh, in the industry a lot. And when we've been looking at this, okay, time to market, it's amazing. And as we are implementing and when people are using these tools in the day to day, and I even do this, I'm a content creator. When I've been curating this content, looking for information, even uh, uh, brainstorming what kind of examples I can bring to explain how this technology has been using, I've been trying different tools. And one of the examples, talking to GPT, the really good example it gave to me was giving an example of how the room size computers in 1940s 1950s, the tasks they were doing were 10 human clerks equivalent to. That's how big the computers were and the number of tasks we are doing. And the devices, what you have in your pockets right now, some of you have in your pockets, your iPhones or your mobile devices, they are it's equivalent to having millions of human clerks working manually. Millions of human clerks working manually. So what we are seeing is acceleration of pace of change. So we've seen this from the initial computers to your mobile phones, what we have, and the amalgamation of technologies. The amalgamation of technologies, what we've been doing. And out of curiosity, did this dude build the iPhone out of scratch? Did this gentleman build this iPhone out of scratch? So in 2007, what we have seen in an iPhone, beautifully presented, is the amalgamation of different technologies integrated onto a simple platform. That's what we have witnessed in 2007. And as we are going through, we these amalgamations of technologies have been happening from ages, from a cartwheel to a spaceship. And we are seeing these technologies in the form of Google's DeepMind as a beautiful example. Here, for Google's DeepMind revolutionized protein structure prediction. So usually it takes, previously it used to take 6 to 12 years to get a protein structure. But now 290, more than 219 proteins were uploaded in less than 48 hours. And thanks to Google's DeepMind AlphaFold. And healthcare, it's used in AI algorithms. analyzed the medical, they used in medical imaging to detect diseases like cancer. And I'm quite excited that some of my that it can bring in some really improved changes in finance, algorithms analyzing the markets, and right now a lightweight supply chain management models are even tested, where automated systems are able to make orders, book, or even book a transport delivery to transport orders from point A to point B. Some of them are being tested with light human intervention. But as these models are building, we are seeing Devin, the world's first software engineer, released in March 2020 this year. And 8 months ago, AI generated news readers, the world's first AI powered news network. And interestingly, the Bumble, the dating app. How many of you heard about it? The Bumble as a dating app or come across it? So they are planning to, oh, okay, some of you have. So they are planning to build an agent for the person who has registered on Bumble. So it becomes like a dating coach who will go and talk to other people, who will go and talk to other agents and help you to set a date. Wow. This technology is evolving and it's growing. And I'm quite excited how this technology is going to change some of this world, because as this wave is going, we are saying AI with biology, AI with robotics, AI with technology. This evolution is continuously growing. And there are some impacts because as we are improving the way of working, so there is, with respect to the current data, what we are also witnessing is with for example, 3 months ago, in the intense all hands meeting, Google CEO said it's tough to predict the future when asked whether the company would do layoffs. And these patterns, we have seen this with various consulting organizations who's been talking about. Pew Research talks about 19% of the US workers are already experiencing the AI's impact. McKinsey Global Institute talks about, due to AI and automation, 375 million workers globally may need to transition to a new occupational categories by 2030. IMF, 40%. Goldman Sachs, according to Goldman Sachs, AI could displace 300 million full-time jobs globally. And World Economic Forum talks about 85 million jobs may be lost, but also 97 million new roles can be created. So there is some interesting data which global organizations are predicting. Because when I'm looking at this news, when we are looking at this data, some of them can be taken with a pinch of salt, because the implementations, what we are seeing, and one of the greatest examples, which talking to one of the leaders, he gave me an example of talking, say, Krishna, in 2000, in 1996, when ISDN came first, voice and text when became first in telephony, it was revolutionary. And after that, that hype came down. So can this be a hype? Maybe, maybe not. But what research is showing is, if you are, if your work involves screens, bigger the screen is, bigger the impact. More the screens is, more the impact. AI can impact you. That's what the stories are telling right now. That's what the data is telling right now. So when we are having this data, when we are having this information overload in everything we hear, so what is the first thing? What is that emotion you have right now? What is that emotion does it create? What does it create to you? Type it in the chat window. What is the one emotion you have? There is overwhelming information. There can be anxiety for some. It is excitement for some. And the mind whirls because that there's one thing, are at the heart of the human experience. And neuroscience tells us that staggering 90% of our decisions are driven by feelings, not by cold logic. When anxiety sets in, what can one do? When anxiety sets in, what can one do? So, this anxiety, when we talk about anxiety or some things, it's in the future. There's something it's in the future. Depression, it's something it's in the past. So, losing a parent, I personally felt there was a huge depression, a depression where I was going through. Why me? Why this? Where I was remunerating, recalling, repeating the same thing again and again and again. This was going back into the past. So, and when there was huge anxiety, so when this huge anxiety, there was overwhelming of emotions. The first thing, what I've learned when there is an overwhelming of emotions, hearing, the first thing which goes is hearing. When people talk to me, when people were talking to me, I was not interested to listen to them. Uh, um, a good researcher said if people go into this reptile mode, when they go into the fight, freeze, or flight mode, a reptile mode, where when when the close people come and talk to you, it's very easy to go bark at them. These were my stories. And I was working today morning, I was working with one of the teams. This team, they're quite anxious. They were going through an anxiety because they do not know a month later if they will be working together. Markets are changing, they are adapting, and the facts are also there. There is a flux of informations. In the last few interviews with the leaders interviewing them, one from the infrastructure industry, even their clients do not know. One from the infrastructure industry, their clients were saying, we have so much data, we don't even know where the data is. To even implement some of the Gen AI, to look at the data quality needs to be efficient. If the data is shit, the AI will give you more shit data. Because right now, we do know that using some of the tools, it can throw garbage out. And some of us don't even know why it's throwing the garbage. There are some investigations to make sure that we can give the right information to get the right data. So yeah, so to implement this new tools in the organizations, as the organizations are trying to compete, if I don't do this, my next door neighbor will do it, I might lose it. So this anxiety does happen. And working with the teams when we are having this high-end emotions, this high-end emotions, on top of it, and we still need to play the game. Play the game means deliver a project, or maybe use the same tools that can even replace. So when this anxiety or the depression, when these emotions are coming in, these are like clouds. They come in and go. We are aware about it. So what are the things we can try? These are some of the simple but yet powerful tools which helps me and the clients I work with. So one of them is concept is taking a deep breath. First thing is breathing. Helping you to take a deep breath helps you to brings you to grounds you for a moment, because it anchors. Taking a deep breath anchors yourself to your present. And right now I am also anxious while I'm presenting this session. And even talking about my anxieties are kicking in. So Krishna, take a deep breath. All right. When I'm taking a deep breath, what's also helping me to do is the second tool is to listen. And sometimes it's really hard when your mind is racing. You can just listen to the sounds around you. It can be the hum of your air conditioning, the gentle tapping of your keys, perhaps the distant bird chirping as well. Because these sensory details ground us in the now and give our racing minds a break. But there is still a powerful tool that transcends languages and culture. It's the art of storytelling, because every culture and language has a tradition of sharing stories. Stories connect us, teach us, and most importantly, it helps us to give a sense around the world. Because in these stories, there is a context. Because let's dive into this deeper. Because these stories, why do they even resonate with us? Because its structure uh, is familiar pattern. That's how our brains are wired too. There is a context to it, a setting, a time, and they are characters. They are heroes and they are villains. And the core of the story, and therefore core of every story, there is a problem, there is a challenge, and ultimately, these stories uh, offer us a solution, a resolution that give us hope, a sense of closure. Because these stories also have emotions, emotions like serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins. These are some of these hormones which are created with our emotions. Let me ask you one thing. I was told that the best story ever one can tell is the time that's the time you fell in love. It can be your bundle of joy, your child, it can be your lover. And when there is so much change is happening, rooted in every story, rooted in every story, there are emotions. And there is a powerful connection between stories and our emotion. And it is harnessed by this therapeutic approach called the narrative therapy. It's rooted in positive psychology because the narrative here, the narrative helps, because in narrative therapy, it helps the individuals reframe their challenges by examining the stories they tell themselves. What is the stories they're telling themselves? It is about recognizing it's not a problems, rather than the authors of our own narratives. Okay, Krishna, this sounds like a kumbaya. How does it mean? Give me an example. What is a case study for it? So in in November 19 in 19 November 1863, Abraham Lincoln, at the dedication of the soldiers National Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, he gave this speech. It's a simple but a very powerful framework which talks about the and, but, therefore. And for scores 7 years ago, our fathers bore forth. This is the context he talks about. But now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing. Therefore, the solution, but in a land, but in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow. So here in history, this has been used as one of the greatest speeches, and it has changed some perspectives how we looked at war. So the question I have for you, when we know that there is a changing environment, it's a privilege to be when the uh, when the world is changing at the same time. I read in books the industrial revolution that my granddad told me about stories. Now being a part of it, how the world is changing with technology, not with AI. AI has been there for a long time. It's technology. We are adapting, we are integrating and amalgamating with various other things that is helping us to change, that helping us to evolve. And these narratives, what we speak, is quite key. Why now it's key? For this, I would love to share a little data which really helps me because according to the World Economic Forum, these are the top 10 skills. Top 10 skills: analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality, initiative. Because if you're trying to distill these skills, all of them come down to problem solving. So if we're talking about problem solving, this gets really interesting. When you're working with high anxiety, you see that in relationships as well. When when I've seen that with my close friends or with my partners, when you're working with high anxiety or when you're stressed, I say something, they say something, because they say something, I say something, it goes into a perfect loop of eight. So when we are problem solving, we are debating. When there are emotions coming, we don't need emotions. How can we be logical? How can we be practical? So, what are we really listening to? Because when we are problem solving, you're breaking the problem down and we are coming to a solution that would work for us. It's a quite an interesting journey which we are going through. And underneath it, it's what is the problem we are trying to solve and what is the solution we are trying to bring? What is the narrative here? This journey continues. So I've been asked, so Krishna, what are the next steps? What can we do now? So one of the things which we can do is look at what are the basic things where you will be spending most of your time. If you are working in a space of whether it's technology or non-technology, whether you're an individual or a leader, first thing is how are these tools are going to help you? There's a very interesting phase which is going on right now. If you don't learn AI, your job will be taken by a person who learns AI. That's a very interesting phrase which came out. I found it very humorous. And I find it funny too. But when you are with your teams, offline or online, what are the basic core skills we are using? Either we are bringing people together over a common problem where you're facilitating, where you're being neutral, you're not being judgmental, you're listening, and you're bringing different perspectives. And thanks to our mobile phones, one of the research which has also shown that social media and the beautiful algorithms, addictive algorithms, has made us, uh, some of us, addicts to the swiping from one context to the other. We've been swipe, 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 swipe. The more context switching our brains are going through, it's really hard to focus on one thing. So, how can we be present? What are we really listening to when we are facilitating? And at times, we need to solve problems because if you're using ChatGPT to come up with a strategy or come up with a content, it can give you an amazing content. It can. And now with Gemini Pro and the number of tokens it has increased, it can hold up to 8 books worth of content, and you can use it as a reference. You can even have conversations with it. But as leaders, when we are working, it's again coming down to looking at the simple skills, because as leaders, what we are doing, we are amalgamating skills such as facilitating, coaching, teaching, mentoring, and and having the right balance of when to advise and when to shut up and let the teams drive the conversation. So there are multiple training programs out there. I would recommend you to get trained first. And on a very high level, we did say that Leadership Tribe does run some training programs. And right now, they're not live. But if you can get on the waiting list, when the dates are open, they'll be more than happy. We will get back to you with the dates, because something that's for your first line managers and for your managers or leaders who are going through these transitions, when the teams are going through the transitions, and how do you build them? How do you help them through these transitions? So we have a boot camp. Uh, Give us a shout, and we'll be more than happy to help you train. But on top of that, if your teams are going through a challenge, but if you're looking for an advisor or a consultant to have a brainstorming to understand what your problem is, give us a shout. We got some amazing experts who have some bandwidth to have a conversation with you to see how we can help you and your teams. We're not trying to sell you, but give you a perspective on how you can look at the problem differently. Because in anything we do, it all comes down to a few things. One of them is questions. Because what stories are you telling yourself about technology or AI? Because depending on the stories I told myself, that caused depression, that made me feel anxious. Because the more stories, the way I'm telling myself, if it's creating fear and anxiety, the perspective I would love to give you is, can you imagine a different story? Or where you can adapt, grow, and thrive in this area? So, this is my high level monologue about how storytelling can reduce anxiety in this arena. But at the same time, if you do love to give me a shout, do feel free to give me. We can book the one-to-one. But I will open this room for Q&A. So feel free to type in your questions or unmute yourself.
Hi, Krishna. I hope you recognize my voice. I'm Rupesh Mathur from Delhi.
Hi, Rupesh.
We
I can't
got in touch.
recognize, but I will. You're audible, but I can't recognize, but I'll pretend as if. But please carry on, Rupesh.
So, AI, as you see it, it's artificial intelligence which also helps you fail faster. When you take that angle, if you do not have proper guardrails, you fail faster. And aspects of enterprise agility if coming in, it can actually speed up a lot of reporting. It can actually speed up a lot of coordination, communication aspects. It can enhance your vision. It can enhance your roadmaps. And we've been using that a lot in India right now, right from the defense sector to government sectors to a lot of things that you see today in the world. A lot of things are sprawling up, right from Make in India to up. For more details, we can rather have a one-on-one session so that we can, elaborate on the positivity of AI, how we have incorporated in our enterprise agility backgrounds. Your thoughts on it?
When you're talking about enterprise agility, adapting AI, there are few challenges which are still problems need to be solved that currently been investigated. One of them is data integrity, because now this AI is what we are seeing. They're like teenagers. They are spilling up data that needs to be practiced. They need to be trained. There are some issues around uh, governance, compliance, security, and how much data you want to give access to your tools, and how do you want to use your data to transform, or you want to learn from it. There are various questions which still need to be answered, and people are also looking at creating the case studies, use cases which falls under 4 different buckets. But we can take this offline, and that's a different discussion, and we can talk about the AI implementation. Actually, I'm working on a white paper, interviewing leaders on how do we AI implementation, AI deployment, and even the maintenance and the evolution of it, and what are the use cases, how they're implementing for their internal teams before they can even apply for their customers. There's some really amazing work which has been happening in the markets, and some of the clients are finding rewarding, but some are finding it challenging as well, because there's a lot of anxiety. I want to wait till other people do it, or sometimes we are not ready yet, or at times we want to do right now, we don't know where to start from. So there are few challenges, but there are some really interesting work. Thank you, Arti. We can talk about this offline. But if you do have any questions around storytelling and how to build those high-performing teams or work with the teams during this transition, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. But if you don't have any, I'll see you when I see you. And do feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you do want to connect to me, and you can drop a direct line to me on Krishna@Leadership Tribe. I'll be more than happy to speak to you directly. On that note, love you and see you. Cheers, Andrew.